Is the Denver housing market finally breaking? From the bungalows in Wash Park to, I don't know, the new builds in Arvada, everyone is really asking the same question. Is our home value about to just vanish into thin air? Well, it's 2026, and while the headlines are screaming crash, 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 the data is screaming normalization. If you're still sitting on the sidelines waiting for 2008 prices in Littleton or a 50% off sale in Rhino downtown, you're not an investor, you're a ghost hunter, and you're waiting for a monster that doesn't exist. And while your rent is basically a car payment for your landlord's Ferrari, the world is passing you by. By the end of this video, I'm gonna show you the 83-year rule that provides why the crash bros are wrong and why your waiting is actually a $65,000 mistake, and exactly how to navigate this 2026 Denver moat before the next bidding war starts. So let's talk about why the crash story keeps coming back, why it's costing you so much real money, and why the Denver market today is different than anything that you've really been told. Now, these are my top reasons why. Now, mind you, these are very unpopular opinions to some. To others, they're just afraid to say it. I'm going to say it out loud. I'm going to scream it from the rooftops because I feel that it's my duty to let everybody know what's truly happening in this market. And that brings us to unpopular opinion number 1. Here's the part that TikTok hates, and it's called math. Math doesn't care about your feelings, man. It definitely doesn't care about TikTok doomers or that reventure guy that's on YouTube predicting a crash every single weekend for the last, gosh, I don't know, forever. Here's the truth. So since 1941, now that's 83 years. Now this is the 83-year rule. Home prices have only dropped by more than 1% 4 of those years in 83 years. Yeah, that's 4. Look at the chart. It looks like a staircase that just keeps going up and to the right. And why do we act like it's a roller coaster, like home prices are going to magically come back down? It just doesn't happen. Sorry. It's called the 83-year rule. I didn't coin it. I heard it from somebody else, but I thought it sounded cool. Now, that's a 95% success rate in 83 years. And even in Denver, when the rest of the country was crying in 2008, that was those 4 years, right, that it went down. But in Denver here, we were the last to really be smacked with it, and we were the first to climb out of that hole. Our crash here in Denver, it was more like a nap compared to the rest of the country. Don't get me wrong, people got hurt. I did too. We all lost money, yeah, it was a time of uncertainty, but we're nowhere near that. And if you're waiting for this crash and you expect a 50% off sale, you'd have better luck finding a literal unicorn in Cheeseman Park. True story. It might be too true. But yeah, so 4 years in 83 years, that's not a crash cycle, guys. That's a rounding error. Now, betting against the American real estate market is kind of like betting against gravity. You might hover for a minute, but the floor is going to win that battle every single time. Now, if you're waiting for a once-in-a-century collapse to happen 2 times in 20 years, you're not an investor. You're what I would call a disaster tourist. Now, do you think that Denver is the exception to this rule, or I don't know, are we just getting started? Drop your neighborhood in the comments. Let me know where you're at. And hey, I'm happy to give you my opinion of what's happening in your neck of the woods. Denver reality check really is that Denver does not have a housing bubble. Denver is going through a correction that, let's face it, it's long overdue, but it's really easy to navigate if you have the right information. Now guys, Denver still has jobs. Denver still has a lifestyle. And Denver has some unique geography that kind of puts some serious limits on supply. Yeah, we're limited by this wide open prairie with no infrastructure to the east. And then we have these gigantic rocks right to the west, literally called Rocky Mountains. Okay, yeah, not a funny dad joke. This supply issue that we're having, let's just say, it's not going to be changing soon. We're going to have some higher prices. They're never going to tank. And that brings us to Number 2. Now, this is an unpopular opinion too, held by a lot of people. You see them all over YouTube because YouTube says the market is crashing. And here's something funny. The loudest people predicting a crash, they don't even own homes. Interesting pattern, right? The guy yelling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, usually can't afford the dirt it's falling on. If someone knew the market was about to implode, wouldn't they, I don't think they'd be on YouTube, man. They'd be quiet. They'd be rich. They'd be offline. And taking real estate advice from a TikTok doomer is like asking a guy in a sinking rowboat for sailing lessons. I don't know how to sail, but man, I'm smarter than that. And by the way, if you've seen one of these sky is falling videos lately, link it below. I'd love to do a math check on it in the next video. Now, fear is free. Clarity is expensive. Stop taking financial advice from a self-professed fortune teller who gets paid in likes and YouTube videos instead of equity. Don't do it. Invest in what's real, and I'll see you at the closing table. That brings us to unpopular opinion number 3. This one's going to get me all sorts of hate mail. Here we go. Bring it. Unpopular opinion number 3 is the interest rate lie. Rates are not why homes are expensive. Supply is. And I'm going to say it again. Interest rates are not the reason you can't afford a house. Waiting for a 3% rate is like waiting for gas to be 99 cents again. It makes for a really great back in my day story, but it's a terrible way to plan a commute. I did that pretty good. I'm pretty impressed. Yes. That rates could drop to, let's say, 2% tomorrow. You know what's going to happen? 50 million people are going to jump into the market, and that $600,000 bungalow just became a $900,000 home in a weekend. We've seen it before. Homes are expensive because we haven't built enough of them, and we haven't built enough of them since the Bush administration. You're not fighting the Fed here. You're fighting with math. In fact, I would argue you're not waiting for lower rates. You're waiting on an invitation for a bidding war. A 5% rate with no competition at all, that's a lot cheaper than a 3% rate against 47 other buyers with cash. That's what's expensive. Come at me. It's the truth. Inventory right here is the only matter here. It's the only metric that matters. Everything else is just noise for people who like to argue online. Don't get caught up in the interest rate trap. Just don't do it. That brings us to unpopular opinion number 4. Now, this is the cost of waiting. This is a huge reality check. While it may be unpopular, it's absolutely true. People are waiting for those interest rates to drop. And right now, waiting for a 0.5% rate drop is a $65,000 mistake. It's actually a lot more, but that's the bare minimum right here that we're going to talk about. And I'll give you some real life numbers here in just a moment. Trying to time the market is the fastest way to stay a renter for life. Ask Warren Buffett or anyone else in the know. You cannot time the market. Nobody can. And this part really stings because waiting feels safe. Trying to time the market is really literally the most expensive hobby in real estate. Let's do some simple 2026 math. I told you we would. We're going to get to the math here. And let's take an $800,000 home today. But let's say you wait 2 years to buy it. You wait until 2028 to buy it. Wow. Well, rates finally dropped that 0.5% that you were looking for. Yeah, cool. Meanwhile, prices went up 4% every single year. Well, guess what? That $800,000 home didn't just go up $32,000. It compounded. And in 24 months, that house cost $865,000. Actually, a little bit more when we actually compound those numbers. This is where you just saved $54 a month, but you paid $65,000 more for the house. Now, if you didn't wait, you could have just refinanced at the 2-year mark and still had that 0.5% rate that you wanted. And for you naysayers who say refinancing ain't free, it costs $10,000 or $5,000, whatever it costs. You're worried about 10 grand on a refi cost? Well, I think that's really cute because I'm worried about the $65,000 you just lit on fire by being patient. I'm going to trade 10 grand for $65,000 in equity and a permanently lower payment any day of the week. Now, does this math hurt? Because it should. If you want a specific breakdown to show your skeptical spouse, or let's say maybe you have a waiting friend, just DM me. We have another video coming up for that too. Now, this is a situation where people are literally stepping over the dollars to pick up the pennies. The math shows that if you refinanced that original $800,000 loan, payment is going to be nearly $400 less than that poor guy who waited. Yeah, the math doesn't lie here, folks. And by passing on that $800,000 home today, you aren't saving a fortune. You're saving $54 a month. $54, man, that's not a savings plan. That's a streaming subscription and a burrito. You're trading $65,000 in equity for the price of 2 pizzas a month. You can refinance a rate, but you cannot refinance a purchase price. The market really isn't waiting on you. It's sending you a bill. Let's look at a real world Denver example. Like in 2024, you could have grabbed a fixer-upper in Sloan's Lake for $700,000. You waited. Now it's 2026, and that same opportunity is $780,000 now. And the fixer part hasn't even changed. You're paying an $80,000 patient tax. Now compare that to the person who bought in Northfield or Washington Park or Southwest Littleton, who locked in their price. They lived through this normalization that we're all going through, and now they're sitting on enough equity to finish their basement or buy that mountain condo they've been dreaming about. Comment below, which Denver neighborhood do you think is the best value right now? And is it the classic charm of, say, I don't know, Park Hill or some of the other neighborhoods I just mentioned? Or what about the growth in Castle Rock? Let's talk about it right here in the comments. I'm going to get eaten up by real estate agents on this one. Unpopular opinion number 5 is the MLS is a graveyard of good homes. I'll even go further, and I'm going to say putting your home on the MLS is the fastest way to make sure it gets ignored. Yeah, some agents treat the MLS like it's a trophy case. And in this market, it's a graveyard for lazy launches. If your strategy starts and ends with hitting publish on the MLS, you're not selling a home, man. You're just hosting a digital funeral. This is important for 2026. The MLS is the stage. How we launch your listing is the show, and nobody buys tickets to an empty theater. Just because the market is slower doesn't mean your sale has to be. A slower market only punishes lazy launches. The market speed doesn't matter. Attention does. Eyeballs do. And attention isn't created by hopes and prayers on the MLS. High-end photos are the bare minimum. I cringe when I hear agents say, "I use professional photos." Ouch! Man, that's like bragging that your car has a steering wheel, man. Everybody uses professional photos. Real buyers don't shop like it's 2015 anymore, where they would look at the finest Denver homes in between watching their favorite Harlem Shake video and commenting on those cat videos where gerbils are riding them like a little horse. I don't know if I've ever really seen one of those, but I'm sure it's happened. Those buyers, they watch, they scroll, they swipe, they compare, and that means you got to have real video, real floor plans, and real context. You got to have media that meets buyers right where they're at, not where agents wish they still were. And here's the part almost nobody ever does. You got to track it. You got to track everything. If you're not tracking the data, you're not selling a house, man. You're selling a very expensive open house for people who want free cookies, because the real estate game is about success. And not really the we listed it and we waited. Homes don't sell because markets improve. They sell because someone controlled the launch, and the MLS is the stage, the launch is the show. And again, nobody buys tickets to that empty theater. So if you're thinking about selling and want to see how we actually launch a home instead of just listing it, head over to our website, give me a call, reach out, give us a DM, comment below, and check us out. I mean, it's just a completely different league. And that brings us to the part about renting. Renting is not throwing money away. It's literally just a subscription service for not my problem. And if the water heater explodes at 3 a.m., that's a landlord problem. And if it's not your problem, that's the best kind of problem to have, unless you're lying to yourself. Some people, I don't know, some weirdo probably wants to have that kind of problem. I don't, ever. Think of rent like a Netflix subscription or a roof above you. Now, you don't own the movies, but you also don't have to fix the server when it crashes, ever. Now, are you moving in 12 months? Get a lease, because buying a house for a 1-year stay is kind of like getting a neck tattoo of a person you just met at a bus stop. It's a lot of commitment for a very short story. You need career flexibility, you should rent. But renting because you're waiting for the bottom to fall out, that's not a strategy. That's the real estate version of, I'll start my diet on Monday. Well, we all know Monday never really comes. And that pizza, yeah, the pizza's already on its way and ordered. That kind of renting is procrastination with a monthly invoice. Renting is a service, people. Home ownership is an asset. Both are fine, but confusing a service with an asset is how a lot of people get stuck. And it's like thinking your Uber driver is your private chauffeur. Eventually, the ride ends, and you're still standing on the sidewalk with your luggage, but still don't own a car. So here's the truth that nobody ever really tells you. There is no perfect market. There never has been. There is only prepared and unprepared. And if you spend your life waiting for the stars to align, man, you're going to end up with a very expensive view of somebody else's success. In 5 years, you're either going to be sitting on a porch complaining about 2031 prices, or you're going to be that one selling to those people who are. The market doesn't care if you feel ready or if you've refreshed Zillow 80 times today. It only cares if you really showed up. So stop ghost hunting. Stop taking financial advice from people whose only asset is a ring light, a $40 webcam, and a gloomy opinion, and start making moves that actually move the needle for your family. Because at the end of the day, you can't build a legacy in a house that you don't own. If you're done guessing and you want a real world strategy for this Denver market, hit me up, comment below, give us a like. This is what we do. We turn market anxiety into equity. Drop a comment below and let me know. Are you still waiting for a crash, or are you just waiting for a sign? And if you're still waiting for a sign, consider this your sign. And of course, subscribe to this channel. We bring it every week to ensure you're the smartest buyer, the smartest seller. Talk with you soon.